There is a power that moves mountains and defies all human logic, a divine presence that has the capacity to transform the unseen into the seen, and the impossible into the inevitable. Yet most of you have spent your entire lives looking for this power in all the wrong places, because you have been conditioned to search for it in struggle. You search for it in worry, and you search for it in the restless pursuit of solutions and the endless strategizing of the mind, believing that if you just think hard enough or work hard enough, you can force the universe to bend to your will. You have been conditioned by a world that tells you that effort alone produces results, and that the harder you struggle, the more you deserve the reward. You have been taught that worry is a sign of responsibility, and that fear is the price you must pay for caring about your future. But I am here to tell you that this conditioning is the very wall that stands between you and your miracle. The secret to the impossible is not found in doing more, it is found in doing less. It is discovered in the sacred act of surrender, which is the most misunderstood concept in the spiritual world. Surrender is not weakness, and it is not giving up, and it is not admitting defeat. Surrender is the wisdom to recognize that your limited human ego is not qualified to run the universe. The moment you release your grip on the problem is the precise moment the answer emerges, because you have stopped blocking the flow of divine intelligence. The secret is simple, yet it is the hardest thing for the human ego to accept, which is to give it to God and He will do the impossible for you. We live in a society that glorifies the grind, and we applaud those who exhaust themselves, and we believe that if we are not suffering, then we are not trying hard enough. We wear our stress like a badge of honor, thinking that our anxiety proves how much we care about the outcome. But what if I told you that the very act of worrying is blocking your blessing and pushing away the very thing you are trying to attract? What if the struggle is not proof of your faith, but proof of your doubt? For the one who truly trusts in the divine power has no need to wrestle with what is already finished in the divine mind. When you struggle, you are essentially saying to the universe that you do not believe it is done, and you do not believe that God is capable, and you do not believe that the law works. You are acting out the state of lack, and the universe has no choice but to reflect that lack back to you in the form of more obstacles and more resistance. You must understand that you are not pleading with a reluctant God who is sitting on a cloud with his arms crossed waiting for you to beg. You are not begging a distant deity to notice your suffering or trying to earn his favor through your pain. He is not withholding blessings until you have cried enough tears or endured enough pain, because God is love and love gives freely. He has already given, and he has already answered, and he has already made a way where you see no way. The problem is not the absence of the answer, the problem is your grip on the problem. Imagine you are holding a hot coal in your hand and you are praying for the pain to stop, but you refuse to open your hand and drop the coal. You scream and you cry and you beg for relief, but you keep your fist clenched tight. This is what you do with your worries. You hold on to them so tightly because you are afraid that if you let go, everything will fall apart. But the truth is that if you let go, everything will fall into place. As long as you hold on to the worry, you are signaling to the universe that you do not trust the solution to arrive. You are acting as the general manager of the universe, trying to micromanage infinite intelligence with your finite mind, and it is exhausting and it is futile. It is not your striving that brings forth the impossible. It is your unwavering trust in His unseen hand. To believe in God is to believe that He is working beyond the veil of physical reality, aligning all things according to His perfect will, even when your physical eyes cannot see a single piece of evidence. This is the test of the architect, who must see the building before the bricks are laid. Can you trust the blueprint before the foundation is dug? Close your eyes for a moment and see beyond the visible, and feel the weight lift from your shoulders as you make the conscious decision to release the burden into His hands. This is not a passive giving up, it is an active spiritual transaction, where you are trading your limited strength for His infinite power. When you stop trying to be the source of your own supply, you connect to the true source, which is limitless. You move from the state of fighting the current to the state of flowing with the river, and the river always knows the way to the ocean better than you do. Can you sense the shift when you stop trying to figure it out? That feeling of relief is the moment faith takes hold, and that is the moment impossibility begins to crumble. For what is impossible to man is effortless to God. If you knew without a shadow of a doubt that the answer was already on its way, would you still worry? If you could see the finished work in the spiritual realm, would you still fear? Of course not. You would be at peace, and you would be joyful, and you would be preparing for the harvest. The fact that you are worrying is evidence that you do not yet believe. The unseen is more real than the seen, and the invisible forces of God are at work even now, orchestrating miracles beyond your understanding. But you must allow it. You must step aside. You must get out of your own way and let God be God. The greatest barrier to your breakthrough is your own need to control the how and the when. You want to know exactly how the money will come or exactly how the healing will happen, but the how is not your business. The how belongs to the wisdom that created the stars, and if it can keep the planets in orbit without your help, surely it can handle the details of your life. The greatest faith is not found in how much effort you exert, it is found in rest. Neville Goddard spoke of the Sabbath not as a day of the week, but as a state of consciousness where you rest in the absolute knowing that the work is done. It is the deep inner conviction that God is in control and that He has never failed and will never fail. Your doubts cannot change His plan, but they can delay your perception of it. Your worries cannot destroy His promises, but they can cloud your vision of them. The only thing that can keep you from walking in your blessing is your refusal to let go. You think that by worrying, you are doing something productive, but worry is actually active resistance. Worry is praying for what you do not want. It is using the creative power of your imagination to build images of failure and disaster. Why would you use your divine gift to create a reality you dread? Stop misusing your imagination and start using it to align with the illusion of struggle. The struggle is an illusion because the battle has already been won in the spiritual realm, and your only job is to walk into the victory that is already waiting for you. Lift your heart in gratitude, not anxiety, and walk as if the miracle has already occurred. Speak as if the promise has already been fulfilled. Let your mind dwell only on the goodness of God, and you will see the impossible bow before you. The secret is not in trying, it is in trusting. The moment you truly surrender, the power of heaven moves in ways beyond your comprehension. There is a sacred law and an unshakable truth that governs all things, and it is not dependent on human logic, nor is it swayed by the conditions of this world, or the economy, or the opinions of others. It is the divine principle of faith which says that what you assume to be true will become your reality. If you assume struggle, you will get struggle. If you assume ease, you will get ease. It is done unto you as you believe. So why do you believe in the necessity of struggle? Why do you believe that it has to be hard? That is a belief system you inherited from a world that does not know God. You can choose to lay that belief down right now and pick up a new belief that says God's grace is sufficient for me and His power is made perfect in my weakness. You have spent too much time wrestling with what should be released, holding tightly to burdens that were never meant for your shoulders. You analyze the problem from every angle and you replay the scenario in your mind 1,000 times and you try to force the outcome with your will. But have you ever noticed that the more you struggle, the more impossible things seem? The weight of worry does not move the mountain, it builds another mountain on top of the first one. The chains of fear do not bring solutions, they only tighten around your chest, making it harder to breathe. You are like a swimmer caught in a riptide who exhausts himself fighting against the water when all he had to do was float and let the current carry him to safety. The struggle is not saving you, it is drowning you. You must stop fighting the water and start trusting the ocean. And all along the answer has been waiting just beyond the walls of your resistance. When you finally release it into the hands of God, when you step back and allow divine power to flow unrestrained, that is when the impossible becomes possible. That is when doors you never saw before begin to open. That is when paths are cleared and opportunities appear and miracles unfold. Not because you worked harder, not because you figured it all out with your intellect, but because you trusted in the one who already knows the way. Faith is not about waiting to see before believing. It is about believing before you see. It is walking in the assurance that God is already working behind the scenes, shifting things in your favor, preparing the way where there seems to be none. You cannot see the roots of the tree growing beneath the soil, but you know they are there. In the same way, you cannot see the hand of God moving in your situation, but you must know He is there working out everything for your good. Your job is not to micromanage His divine process. Your job is to rest in the certainty of His promise, to let go and let God move in ways that human reasoning cannot comprehend. What is it that burdens your heart today? Identify it and look at it. What is the thing that keeps you awake at night? Is it debt? Is it sickness? Is it loneliness? Is it the future of your children? The weight you carry in silence is known to Him. The problem that feels unsolvable to you is already solved in His mind. Do you not know that God is already aware? Do you not see that He has already gone before you? If you truly understood that the answer exists in the realm of the unseen, would you still doubt? The only reason you doubt is because you are looking at the reflection in the mirror instead of the source. You are looking at the shadow instead of the light. Turn your eyes away from the problem and fix them on the solution provider. You do not need to chase after what is already yours. This is a profound truth that you must integrate into your spirit. The blessings of God are not earned through struggle, they are received through faith. The moment you let go of the need to control the outcome, you open the floodgates. The moment you step into absolute trust, you align yourself with the frequency of reception. The moment you declare that it is done, even before it manifests, that is the moment the impossible begins to bow before you. Struggle is the ego trying to play God. Surrender is the ego bowing to God. It is the admission that you do not have all the answers, but you know the one who does. It is the humility to say, I cannot do this, but you can. And in that humility you find your greatest strength, because when you are weak, then He is strong. Consider the energy you waste on worry. It is a massive leakage of your creative power. Every moment you spend imagining the worst-case scenario, you are investing in a future you do not want. You are painting a picture of disaster, and then signing your name to it. Stop being the architect of your own destruction. Reclaim that energy. Take the energy you were using to worry and use it to bless. Take the energy you were using to struggle and use it to rest. This requires discipline. It requires you to catch yourself every time you start to spiral into anxiety and say, no, I will not go down that road. I have given this to God and I will not take it back. Taking it back is an act of disrespect. It is like giving a gift to a friend and then snatching it out of their hands because you don't trust them to use it right. Trust God with the gift of your problem. Leave it at the altar and walk away. The illusion of struggle tells you that you are alone in this fight. It tells you that if you don't do it, nobody will. It tells you that the weight of the world is on your shoulders. But this is a lie. You are never alone. You are surrounded by an infinite presence that loves you more than you love yourself. You are supported by a universe that is conspiring in your favor. But you cannot feel that support as long as you are flailing your arms and fighting the air. You have to be still to feel the support. Be still and know that I am God. The stillness is where the knowledge comes. The stillness is where the struggle dissolves. The stillness is where you realize that the battle was never yours to begin with. When you live in the illusion of struggle, you are living in a state of contraction. Your body is tight, your mind is narrow, your heart is closed. You cannot receive anything in a state of contraction. You have to expand. You have to open up. Surrender is the ultimate expansion. It is opening your hands and saying, I receive. It is opening your heart and saying, I trust. It is opening your mind and saying, show me the way. When you expand, you make room for the miracle. When you contract, you squeeze the miracle out. Choose expansion. Choose trust. Choose to let go of the tight grip you have on your life and watch how life begins to flow with a grace and ease you never thought possible. Many of you believe that surrender means doing nothing. You think it means sitting on the couch and waiting for a check to drop in your lap. But this is a misunderstanding. Surrender is an internal stance, not necessarily an external inaction. You can take action while being surrendered. The difference is the energy behind the action. Action born of struggle is frantic and fearful and exhausting. Action born of surrender is inspired and calm and effective. When you are surrendered, you move when you are guided to move. You speak when you are guided to speak. You act from a place of peace, not from a place of panic. This is what we call inspired action. It is action that flows from the divine intelligence within you rather than from the fearful ego. It feels like play, not work. It feels like flow, not force. So I ask you today to examine your life and identify where you are struggling. Where are you pushing against a wall that will not move? Where are you banging your head against a closed door? Stop. Just stop. Take a deep breath and step back. Realize that your method is not working. Realize that your anxiety is not helping. Realize that your fear is a liar. And then make the conscious choice to hand it over. Visualize yourself holding the problem in your hands like a heavy stone. Feel the weight of it, feel the rough edges, and then visualize yourself handing that stone to a giant hand of light that comes down from the heavens. Watch the hand take the stone from you. Feel the lightness in your own hands, and then watch the hand lift the stone up and dissolve it into light. It is gone. It is handled. It is no longer your burden. Walk in that lightness. Do not go looking for another stone to pick up. Walk in the freedom of the children of God. You were born to be free, not to be burdened. You were born to create, not to worry. You were born to live in joy, not in stress. The illusion of struggle is just a bad dream. Wake up from the dream. Wake up to the reality of your divine inheritance. Wake up to the power of letting go. Wake up and see that the impossible is only impossible to the one who tries to do it alone. But with God, all things are possible, and you are with God. Therefore, all things are possible for you. This is the foundation of everything we will discuss. If you cannot get this part right, nothing else matters. You can visualize all day long, but if you are doing it from a place of struggle, it will fail. You can say affirmations until you are blue in the face, but if underneath them you are gripping tight with fear, they will bounce off the ceiling. You must master the art of surrender. It is the gateway to the supernatural. It is the key that unlocks the door to the kingdom. So practice it. Practice it in the small things so you can do it in the big things. Practice it when you are stuck in traffic. Surrender to the moment. Practice it when you lose your keys. Surrender to the situation. Practice it when someone is rude to you. Surrender your need to defend yourself. Build the muscle of surrender, and soon you will be able to surrender the mountain and watch it move into the sea. We must now turn our attention away from the frantic inventions of the human mind and look toward the original blueprint of existence. If you want to understand how to manifest the impossible without struggle, you need only look out your window. Nature is the visible language of God, and it is constantly speaking the truth of effortlessness. Think of the birds in the sky, for they are the great professors of faith. They do not toil, and they do not spin, and they do not hold emergency meetings about where their next meal will come from. They do not wake up in the morning paralyzed by anxiety, wondering if the air will hold them up today. They simply launch themselves into the void with absolute confidence in the invisible currents that support them. They wake up singing before they have eaten a single worm. This is a profound spiritual lesson. They give thanks before they receive. They celebrate the day before the provision has arrived. They do not build barns to hoard their grain for the next 10 years because they trust that the same source that provided for them today will provide for them tomorrow. And yet they are fed. They are sheltered. They fulfill their purpose perfectly. If the creator of this vast universe pays such attention to the sparrow which falls without notice, how much more will he provide for you who are created in his own image? You are the apex of creation, yet you are the only creature that worries. You are the only creature that disconnects yourself from the divine flow and tries to survive on your own limited resources. It is time to relearn the wisdom of the bird. It is time to trust the invisible currents of God's grace to support you even when you cannot see the ground. Consider the lilies of the field and how they grow. They do not strain to bloom. A rose does not stand in the garden grunting and sweating and trembling with effort, trying to push out its petals. It does not look at the sunflower next to it and feel inferior and try to force itself to become a sunflower. It simply rests in its own nature. It allows the life force of the universe to flow through it. It accepts the rain, and it accepts the sun, and it accepts the soil. And in this state of total non-resistance, it is clothed in beauty that Solomon in all his glory could not rival. The flower does not try to be beautiful. It is beautiful because it is surrendered. Your struggle to be successful, and your struggle to be healed, and your struggle to be loved is the very thing that is making you unattractive to those blessings. Strain is ugly. Desperation is repelling. But trust is beautiful. Confidence is magnetic. When you stop straining and start trusting, you begin to bloom with a natural radiance that draws everything you need to you. The bees come to the flower does not chase the bees. The blessings come to the believer does not chase the blessings. You must become like the flower, rooted in the conviction that where you are is holy ground, and that everything you need is being drawn to you by the same power that spins the earth. If God provides for the birds and the flowers so effortlessly, how much more will He provide for you? This is not just a poetic sentiment, it is a logical deduction based on the hierarchy of creation. You possess the power of imagination which the bird and the flower do not have. You have the ability to consciously co-create with God. Do you think He gave you this power to torture you with unfulfilled desires? Do you think He placed a dream in your heart only to leave you stranded without the means to fulfill it? That would make God a cruel trickster, and that is not the nature of the divine. The desire you feel is the proof that the provision already exists. The bird feels the instinct to fly south because the south exists. You feel the desire for a better life because that better life exists. But you must stop blocking it with your anxiety. You must stop believing that you are an orphan in the universe who has to fight for every scrap. You are a child of the King, and the King's resources are your resources. But you cannot access the King's treasury while you are acting like a beggar. You have to step into the dignity of your divine heritage, which is a dignity of rest and trust. The only thing standing between you and the manifestation of His power is your own resistance. It is your own unwillingness to surrender to the rhythm of life. You have spent too much time in fear and too much time in hesitation and too much time in the prison of doubt. You look at the clock and you panic. You look at the calendar and you despair. You think that time is running out, but time is a construct of the human mind. God lives in the eternal now. For Him a day is like 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is like a day. He is never late. He is never early. He is always precisely on time. We must speak of divine timing because this is where most people lose their faith. In your human mind, you want the answer now. You want the pain to stop this instant. You want the money in your account by noon. And when it does not happen according to your schedule, you conclude that God has failed you. But this is the arrogance of the ego, assuming it knows better than the infinite wisdom. You must understand that every delay is divine timing. Every closed door is divine protection. Every detour is leading you to something greater than you imagine. You cannot see the full picture. You are looking at life through a keyhole, while God sees the entire panorama. You might be crying because you missed a flight, not knowing that the plane was destined for trouble, or that by missing it you would meet the person who would change your life in the airport lounge. You might be devastated because you didn't get the job, not knowing that the company is about to go bankrupt or that the boss would have destroyed your mental health. You mourn the loss of a relationship, not knowing that the person was incapable of loving you the way you deserve, and that by removing them, God is clearing space for your soulmate. The rejection is not a denial, it is a redirection. It is God saving you from a future you do not want so He can give you the future you are destined for. When you release your grip on worry, when you stop asking how and simply trust that it is already done, you will witness the impossible unfold before your eyes. But you must respect the law of gestation. Look at nature again. There is a season for everything. There is a time to plant and a time to harvest. You do not plant a seed of corn and then stand over it screaming at it to grow. You do not dig it up every 10 minutes to check if it has roots. You know that there is an interval of time between the planting and the reaping. This interval is not empty time, it is active time. It is a time of transformation. Beneath the dark soil, the seed is breaking open. It is dying to its old form so it can be born as a new life. Your desire is a seed. When you place it in the womb of the universe, through your assumption of its reality, a gestation period begins. You cannot rush a pregnancy. If a child is born after 3 months, it cannot survive. It needs 9 months to develop the lungs to breathe and the eyes to see. If you force the birth before the time, you kill the dream. You must trust that the timing is part of the blessing. Your waiting period is not a punishment. It is a preparation. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins. If you were given the wealth you desire right now while you still have a poverty mindset, you would lose it all in a year. If you were given the relationship you crave right now while you still do not love yourself, you would destroy it with your insecurity. God loves you too much to give you a blessing that would crush you. He is using this time to build your character and to expand your capacity and to strengthen your spiritual muscles so that when the blessing arrives, you are strong enough to hold it. Do not despise the waiting. The waiting is where you become the person who is worthy of the dream. The waiting is where the vessel is expanded so it can hold more oil. Healing that seemed unattainable will flow into your life when the resistance is gone. Provisions that seemed out of reach will find their way to you when you stop chasing them and start attracting them. Relationships will be restored when you stop forcing them and start loving yourself. Paths will be made straight, and what once seemed like an obstacle will become a testimony of God's power. But you must be willing to release the timeline. You must be willing to say to God, I trust your timing more than I trust my desire for speed. I trust that you know the perfect moment to deliver this gift. This surrender of the clock is the ultimate act of faith. It is saying that you are not a slave to time, but a master of trust. You must be willing to step back and allow divine power to do what human effort cannot. Human effort is linear. It moves step by step. Divine power is quantum. It can jump timelines. It can collapse time. It can make 1,000 years of progress in a single day. But it can only do this when you get out of the way. When you stop pushing the river and let the river carry you. The river knows the way to the ocean. It does not need your help to get there. It only needs your surrender to the current. The current of grace is always flowing towards your highest good. The only reason you are not there yet is because you are grabbing onto the rocks of fear and the branches of doubt, refusing to let go. Let go of the branch. Let the current take you. It will take you to waters of rest and pastures of green. You must be willing to declare, even in the midst of uncertainty, that it is finished, that it is already done. This seems contradictory to the rational mind. How can it be done if I don't see it? But the spiritual mind understands that creation is finished in the unseen before it manifests in the seen. The architect draws the house on paper before a single brick is laid. The house is finished in the mind of the architect. It is real. The physical construction is just the slow projection of that finished reality into the world of matter. Your desire is finished in the mind of God. It is finished in your imagination. The physical world is just catching up. When you understand this, you stop waiting with anxiety and you start waiting with expectancy. There is a huge difference. Waiting with anxiety says, I hope it happens. Waiting with expectancy says, I know it is coming. Think of waiting for a package you ordered online. You have the confirmation email. You have the tracking number. You are not worried. You are not calling Amazon every 5 minutes screaming. You are simply going about your life knowing that the doorbell will ring at the appointed time. That is the kind of waiting God asks of you. For God is not waiting for you to beg Him. He is waiting for you to believe Him. Begging implies that God is stingy. Begging implies that you have to convince God to be good. But God is already good. He is the source of all goodness. He takes pleasure in giving you the kingdom. When you pray, do not pray from a place of desperation. Desperation is a repellent. Desperation smells like lack. Pray from a place of knowing. Pray from a place of partnership. Do not speak as though you are trying to convince God to move on your behalf. Speak as though you are thanking Him for what is already in motion. Gratitude is the frequency of reception. When you thank God before the answer comes, you are acting like the bird who sings before the worm is found. You are demonstrating the highest form of faith. Speak as though you are standing in the reality of the miracle before it even appears. Because faith is not about hoping something might happen. Faith is the conviction that it already has. The flowers do not hope for the sun to rise. They turn towards the east with absolute certainty that the light will come, and the light always comes. The sun has never failed to rise. The seasons have never failed to turn. Gravity has never failed to hold you down. The laws of the universe are reliable. Why do you think the law of faith is any less reliable? It is just as precise as the law of gravity. If you align with it, it works. If you fight it, you fall. The moment you shift from worry to trust, From doubt to certainty, you align yourself with the divine flow of God's power. You step into the realm where the impossible is made possible. You walk in a reality where obstacles are no longer barriers, but stepping stones. When you are in the flow, what used to look like a mountain now looks like a vantage point. What used to look like a failure now looks like a lesson. Your perception changes, and when your perception changes, your reality changes. You no longer fight battles that have already been won. You understand that the battle was never against flesh and blood, but against your own limiting beliefs. And once you have won the battle in your mind, the war in the world is over. You no longer struggle for what is already secured. Imagine you have $1 million in the bank, but you have forgotten your password. You are starving. You are begging for food. You are struggling to survive, but you are not poor. You are just disconnected from your wealth. You do not need to earn the money again. You just need to remember the password. The password is faith. The password is surrender. The password is thank you. When you use the password, you access the account that was yours all along. You realize that the struggle was an illusion caused by your forgetfulness. Look back on your life. How many times has God come through for you? How many situations did you think would break you, yet you are still standing? How many moments did you believe there was no way out, yet He made a way? Your own history is the proof of His faithfulness. You have a track record of survival. You have a track record of miracles. Why do you get amnesia every time a new problem arises? Why do you act as if this is the first time you have faced a challenge? Remember the lions you have already slain. Remember the bears you have already defeated. If God delivered you from them, He will deliver you from this Goliath too. If He has never failed you before, why would He fail you now? God does not change. He is the same yesterday, today, and forever. He does not have mood swings. He does not have bad days. He is consistent. If He was faithful, then He is faithful now. If He has proven time and time again that He is faithful, why do you still question? It is an insult to His character to doubt Him after all He has done for you. It is time to mature in your faith. It is time to stop being a fair-weather believer who only trusts God when the sun is shining. You must trust Him in the storm. You must trust Him in the winter. You must trust Him in the silence. It is not for you to figure out how. The human mind is obsessed with the how. It wants a step-by-step plan. It wants a guarantee. But God does not give maps, He gives guides. He does not show you the whole destination. He shows you the next step. If He showed you the whole path, you would be overwhelmed. You would see the mountains you have to climb and you would give up. So He hides the future from you in kindness. He asks you to trust Him for the daily bread, not the lifetime supply. Give us this day our daily bread. Trust Him for today. Let tomorrow take care of itself. It is not for you to stress over the details. The universe is a complex mechanism with infinite moving parts. You cannot possibly understand how your desire will be brought to pass. You do not know who needs to meet who. You do not know what events need to align. If you try to control the details, you will mess up the divine orchestration. Imagine a child trying to conduct a symphony orchestra. They would create chaos. You are the child. God is the conductor. Put down the baton and sit in the audience and enjoy the music. Let the master musician weave the melody of your life. It is simply for you to believe, to step into the knowing that He who promised is faithful, that He who began a good work in you will bring it to completion. God is not a quitter. He does not start a project and then abandon it halfway through. You are His project. He started a good work in you and He will finish it. But you have to let Him. You have to stay on the potter's wheel. If you jump off the wheel because the pressure is uncomfortable, the pot will be ruined. Stay on the wheel. Let the master's hands mold you. The pressure you feel is His hands shaping you into a vessel of honor. That He who spoke the world into existence is more than capable of handling the concerns of your life. Think about the scale of this. The God who ignited the sun, the God who carved the canyons, the God who filled the oceans. Do you really think your credit card debt is too hard for Him? Do you really think your sickness intimidates Him? Do you really think your broken heart is beyond repair? Your problems are microscopic compared to His power. Stop telling God how big your storm is. Start telling your storm how big your God is. Shift your perspective from the problem to the solution provider. You have nothing to lose by surrendering, but everything to gain. What has your worry gotten you so far? Ulcers, sleepless nights, panic attacks, high blood pressure. It has not added a single inch to your height or a single dollar to your pocket. It has only robbed you of the present moment. Surrender costs you nothing but your misery. It costs you nothing but your illusion of control. And in exchange, it gives you peace. It gives you power. It gives you the keys to the kingdom. It is the best trade you will ever make. You have carried this burden long enough. You have been the mule carrying the heavy load up the mountain. But you were meant to be the eagle flying over the mountain. Drop the load. You have wrestled with fear for too long. It is an exhausting wrestling match, and you will never win it by fighting. You win by walking away from the mat. Release it now. Release it fully. Not halfway, not with one foot still in doubt, but completely. Imagine yourself standing at the edge of a cliff and throwing the heavy backpack of your worries into the ocean below. Watch it fall. Watch it splash. Watch it sink. It is gone. Do not go down there and try to fish it out. Let it stay at the bottom of the sea. Let it go and do not take it back. Give it to God. And never again wonder if He is working. The wonder is a form of doubt. The wonder implies that He might not be working. Replace the wonder with worship. When the thought comes that says, "Is God working?" answer it with a praise that says, "Thank you, God, that you are working." Flip the script, change the narrative. For the moment you release it, the moment you step into the certainty of faith, the moment you declare that it is done, you will see the impossible bow before you. The universe bends to the will of the one who trusts. The atoms rearrange themselves around the frequency of faith. The mountain will move. It has to move. It has no choice. Faith is a force more powerful than matter. The chains will break. They cannot hold a spirit that is liberated by trust. The way will be made not by your effort, not by your worry, but by the power of the one who holds all things in His hands. You are moving from the realm of the physical, where things are hard and heavy, to the realm of the spiritual, where things are light and instant. You are moving from the law of effort to the law of grace. Give it to God. Trust without hesitation. Walk as though the promise is already fulfilled. Look in the mirror and smile at the person who has already received the blessing. Dress like that person. Talk like that person. Treat others with the generosity of that person. Be that person now. For the secret is not in striving. The secret is in surrender. And when you surrender fully, you will see that what once seemed impossible has already been done. Nature does not struggle to grow, and neither should you. You are part of nature. You are part of God. Flow, bloom, fly, and watch the miracles unfold. Before we step into the river of divine order and learn how to align with the flow, I invite you to make a conscious choice right now. You have heard the wisdom of the birds and the lilies. If you are ready to stop striving and start thriving, if you are ready to trade your anxiety for peace, then take a moment to subscribe to this channel. By clicking that button, you are not just joining a channel, you are planting a flag in the ground. You are signaling to your subconscious mind that you are part of a community that chooses trust over fear. Join us. Let this be your daily sanctuary. Now, let us discover how to enter the divine flow where miracles happen effortlessly. There is a divine order to life, an unseen force that governs all things, and it is not chaos, nor is it random accident. It is precise and intentional and beyond human comprehension in its complexity and its perfection. Just as the stars do not collide in the heavens and the tides do not fail to turn and the sun does not forget to rise, there is a rhythm to your existence that is trying to lead you to your highest good. Every event and every moment and every challenge is unfolding exactly as it should within this great tapestry. But when you allow worry to take root and when you grip onto the illusion of control, you step out of alignment with that divine order. You begin to fight battles that are not yours to fight, and you try to force what was meant to flow, and you stand in the way of the very blessing that is seeking you. The universe is always moving toward expansion, and toward life and toward resolution. But you, with your limited perspective and your fearful grasping, create a dam in the river of grace. You are the only thing that can block your blessing, because you are the only one with the power to resist the divine will for your life, which is always abundance and peace. Surrender is not weakness. And let us correct this misunderstanding once and for all, because the ego tells you that to surrender is to lose, and to surrender is to be defeated. But in the spiritual realm, surrender is power. It is the ultimate act of strength. It is the quiet confidence of one who knows that God has already worked it out. It is the unwavering trust that does not require proof to believe. It is the certainty that even in silence, even when nothing appears to be happening, everything is happening. When you surrender, you are not giving up on your dream, you are giving up on the struggle to force the dream into existence with your own two hands. You are admitting that there is a power greater than you that knows the way better than you do. It is like a passenger on a plane who stops trying to fly the plane from his seat and simply trusts the pilot. The moment you release your need to figure it all out, the moment you truly let go, the impossible begins to move, because you have stopped resisting the momentum of the miraculous. You have spent so much time asking and praying and pleading and hoping. You have filled your days with petitions and your nights with begging. But have you ever stopped to receive? Have you ever allowed yourself to dwell in the reality that it is already done? Because the truth is, God has never withheld anything from you. He is not a taskmaster waiting for you to prove yourself worthy. He is not delaying your breakthrough to test your patience. The delay is not on his end, the delay is on your end, because you are so busy asking that you have no space to receive. Imagine a cup that is covered by a hand that refuses to open. The water is pouring, but the cup remains empty, not because there is no water, but because the hand is blocking the opening. Your worry is that hand. Your doubt is that hand. The moment you align yourself with faith, the moment you step fully into trust, you remove the hand and you enter the space where miracles occur effortlessly. You move from the frequency of wanting to the frequency of having. Think of a river flowing effortlessly towards the ocean. This is the perfect metaphor for the flow of divine order. The river does not struggle to reach the sea. It does not force its way. It does not stress about the rocks or the bends in the path. It simply flows. It trusts gravity. It trusts the path. It knows that its destiny is the ocean, and nothing can stop it from getting there. But if you attempt to block it, if you try to redirect its course with your own limited understanding, you create resistance. The water does not stop, it simply builds pressure. And the more you resist, the more turbulent things become. You create a flood of anxiety and a whirlpool of chaos, not because the river is dangerous, but because you are fighting the flow. But the moment you remove the barriers, the moment you allow it to move, as it was always meant to, peace is restored. The turbulence vanishes and the water becomes calm and powerful again. This is the nature of surrender, and this is the nature of faith. When you hold on to worry, when you refuse to release your burdens to God, you are standing in the way of His perfect plan. You are trying to force what was meant to unfold naturally. You are allowing fear to block what has already been given to you. You are acting like a man trying to push a river upstream. It is exhausting and it is impossible. But when you surrender, when you truly place it in His hands and walk away from the worry, you make room for His power to flow unhindered. And in that space, the impossible becomes reality. You realize that the current was always carrying you, and the only reason you were drowning was because you were fighting against the very thing that was trying to save you. You have prayed for an answer, but have you created space for it to arrive? The law of the universe is that two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. You cannot have a mind full of worry and a life full of miracles. You cannot have a heart full of fear and a reality full of love. You have to clear the clutter. You have to make room. You have asked for a miracle, but are you prepared to receive it? Because faith is not simply believing that God can do it. Faith is knowing that God has done it. It is walking in the reality of what you have asked for before it even manifests. It is speaking with the authority of someone who has already seen the outcome. It is moving as if the problem has already been solved. This is the state of flow. It is the state of non-resistance. It is the state of allowing. If you truly believed that God was handling it, would you still stress? If you truly trusted that He had already made a way, would you still fear? No. You would walk with peace. You would wake up with confidence. You would rest in the assurance that all things are working in your favor. Because worry is a symptom of doubt, and doubt is what delays the blessing. Worry is a signal that you have disconnected from the flow. It is like a static on the radio that tells you have lost the signal. The moment you feel worry, do not fight it, but recognize it as a signal to tune back into the frequency of trust. The moment you step into faith, the moment you allow your heart to rest in trust, the doors that seem closed will open effortlessly, because you are no longer holding them shut with your fear. You have nothing to gain by holding on to fear, but everything to gain by surrendering. You think that by holding on you are maintaining control, but you are actually losing control. You are losing control of your peace and your mind and your destiny. You have been carrying this weight for too long. It is not yours to carry. It was never meant for you. You were designed to be a vessel for the divine flow, not a storage container for stress. God has already gone before you. He's already prepared the way. He's already set the answer in motion. Your only task is to trust, to let go, to stop looking for proof, and start moving in certainty, to float on the river of grace instead of swimming against it. What you desire is not far from you. The healing you seek, the breakthrough you need, the answer you have been waiting for, it is already done. It is floating in the river right next to you. But you cannot see it because you are thrashing around in panic. You must be still to see the blessing. You must stop wrestling with it. You must stop trying to force what is meant to flow. You must release it completely, without hesitation, without conditions, without looking back. Because the moment you truly let go, the moment you step into absolute trust, you will see the impossible unfold before your very eyes. You will realize that the struggle was an illusion and the ease is the reality. God is not limited by human logic. He does not operate on your timeline. He does not need circumstances to align in order to move. He creates the circumstances. He is above all things, beyond all things, working through all things. What seems impossible to you is effortless to him. What feels delayed to you is already in motion. What appears broken to you is already being restored. The only thing required of you is to trust. Not halfway, not with one foot still in fear, but completely. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot trust God and trust your worry at the same time. You have to choose. You have prayed for open doors, but have you thanked him for the ones he has already opened? Gratitude is the lubricant of the divine flow. When you complain, you clog the pipes. When you give thanks, you clear the channel. You have asked for guidance, but have you acknowledged the times he has already led you? Gratitude is the language of faith. When you begin to thank God in advance, when you begin to speak as though it is already done, you step into alignment with his divine power. You shift from asking to receiving. You move from waiting to experiencing. You become a magnet for the miraculous, because you are vibrating at the frequency of the solution, not the problem. This flow of divine order is always moving towards harmony. If your life feels chaotic, it is because you are out of alignment with the order. You are trying to impose your own order on the universe instead of accepting God's order. You think you know what is best for you, but you only see a tiny fragment of the picture. God sees the whole tapestry. Surrender is trusting that the weaver knows what he is doing. It is trusting that the dark threads are just as necessary as the gold threads to create the masterpiece. When you stop judging your life and start trusting your life, you enter the flow. Consider the mechanics of a miracle. A miracle is not a violation of natural law, it is the operation of a higher law. It is the law of grace superseding the law of karma. It is the law of abundance superseding the law of lack. But this higher law can only operate when you get out of the way. When you stop insisting that things have to happen a certain way. When you stop attaching your happiness to a specific outcome. When you detach, you allow God to attach the perfect outcome to you. Attachment creates resistance. Detachment creates flow. Surrender is the ultimate act of detachment. It is saying, God, I want this, but I trust you more. I desire this outcome, but I am willing to accept your plan, which is better. The moment you align yourself with this divine order, you become unstoppable, not because of your own power, but because the power of the universe is backing you up. You are no longer a solitary wave, you are the ocean. You are No longer a single note, you are the symphony. The synchronicity begins to happen. You meet the right people at the right time. You find the money in unexpected places. The problem resolves itself in a way you never could have planned. This is the flow. This is what life is supposed to look like. It is not supposed to be a struggle. It is supposed to be a dance. But you must be willing to let the old you die so the new you can be born. You must be willing to let go of your identity as a victim. You must be willing to let go of your addiction to drama. Some of you are addicted to the struggle because it gives you a sense of identity. You do not know who you are without your problems, but you must let that go. You are not your problems. You are a child of God. You are a being of light. You are a creator. Step into that identity and the flow will carry you to heights you never dreamed possible. Imagine the gears of a great cosmic clock. They are turning with precision and silence. Every gear is connected to every other gear. Your life is one of those gears. When you worry, you are trying to turn your gear in the opposite direction of the great clock. You create friction. You create heat. You strip the gears. You break the machine of your life. But when you surrender, you allow your gear to turn in harmony with the great clock. You move effortlessly. You accomplish more with less effort. You are supported by the momentum of the entire universe. Why would you want to turn against that? Why would you want to fight the whole cosmos? Surrender is the recognition that you are part of something bigger. It is the humility to admit that your plan is small compared to God's plan. It is the courage to step into the unknown, trusting that you will be caught. It is the wisdom to know that control is an illusion. You never had control in the first place. You only had the illusion of control. Losing that illusion is not a loss, it is a liberation. It frees you from the burden of trying to keep the world spinning. You can put the world down, God has it. When you enter the flow of divine order, you also enter the flow of divine provision. The river brings nutrients to the soil. The flow brings resources to your life. Scarcity is a sign of blockage. Abundance is a sign of flow. If you are experiencing lack in any area of your life, it is because you have dammed up the river with a limiting belief or a fear. You are holding on to money so tight that you cannot receive more. You are holding on to love so tight that you are strangling it. Open your hand, let it flow. Circulation is the law of life. Your blood must flow to keep you alive. Your breath must flow to keep you alive. Your money and your love and your faith must flow to keep your reality alive. Let us speak of the silence within the flow. When you are in the struggle, your mind is noisy. It is full of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. But when you are in the flow, your mind is quiet. It is observant. It is peaceful. In that silence, you can hear the voice of God. You can hear the guidance that tells you go left or go right. You can hear the inspiration for the next step. You cannot hear this guidance when you are screaming in panic. You have to be still. You have to float. In the silence of surrender, the solutions are revealed. So, how do you enter this flow today? You start by observing your resistance. Notice where you are tense. Notice where you are angry. Notice where you are trying to force an outcome. And then consciously relax. Take a deep breath and say, I release this. I step back. I allow. Visualize the river carrying you. Visualize the dam breaking. Visualize the water rushing in to fill every dry place in your life. Do this every time you feel the tension rise. It is a practice. It is a discipline. But it is the most rewarding discipline in the world. There is a momentum to the miraculous. Once you enter the flow, miracles start to happen faster and faster. One open door leads to another. One blessing attracts another. It creates a compound effect of goodness. But you have to take the first step. You have to pull the plug on your doubt. You have to initiate the release. God is waiting for your permission to flood your life with good. He will not violate your free will. If you want to hold on to your misery, He will let you. But if you give Him permission to take it, He will turn it into joy. You are standing on the bank of the river of life. You are thirsty, you are tired, you are covered in dust, and the water is right there. Cool and clear and rushing with power. Why are you standing on the bank? Why are you digging a hole in the dirt trying to find water when the river is right there? Jump in. Let go of the shore. Let go of the branch. Trust the water. It will not drown you, it will carry you. It will wash you clean. It will quench your thirst. It will take you home. This is the invitation of the divine order. Come back to harmony. Come back to rhythm. Come back to ease. Stop making it so hard. Life was not meant to be a punishment. It was meant to be a celebration. It was meant to be a co-creation. You are the dancer, and God is the music. Stop trying to step on the music's toes. Just follow the rhythm. When you stumble, do not stop dancing, just get back in rhythm. The music never stops. The grace never ends. The flow is eternal. And as you flow, you will begin to see that the things you thought were big problems were actually small stones in the river. The current washes over them easily. You realize that you were making mountains out of molehills. You realize that you have the power to flow around any obstacle. You become fluid like water. Nothing can break you because you do not resist. You adapt. You move. You overcome not by force but by flow. This is the secret of the masters. This is the way of the saints. This is the path of peace. So today make a covenant with yourself and with God. Declare that you are done with the struggle. Declare that you are done with the resistance. Declare that you are stepping into the flow. Say it out loud. I am in the flow. I trust the divine order. I release my need to control. And then watch what happens. Watch the magic unfold. Watch the impossible become your daily reality. Watch how easy life becomes when you let God be God. Your words carry weight, and your thoughts shape your reality. And this is a law as real as gravity. Yet most of you live as though your words are cheap and your thoughts are powerless. You speak carelessly about your life and you describe your misfortunes with great detail, and you complain about your lack to anyone who will listen, and then you wonder why the same patterns repeat themselves over and over again. You must understand that you are not merely describing your reality with your words, you are prescribing it. You are the author of your own story, and your tongue is the pen. Every time you speak, you are issuing a command to the universal substance. When you speak from a place of worry, when you allow fear to dictate your vocabulary, you reinforce the very thing you are trying to escape. You are using your creative power against yourself, building walls instead of bridges and cages instead of wings. But when you speak in faith, when you declare with conviction that God is in control, you align yourself with the supernatural, and you make space for the impossible to manifest. You do not need to beg for what has already been given, because begging implies that you are a pauper and God is a miser. Begging implies separation. It implies that the good you seek is far away and difficult to obtain. But this is the great illusion of the senses. The good you seek is not far away. It is right here in the unseen reality, waiting for you to call it forth. You do not need to convince God to bless you, for He has already blessed you with every spiritual blessing. He has already prepared the table before you. You simply need to receive. To receive means to accept as true. You receive by changing your speech from the language of lack to the language of possession. You let go of the resistance that comes from pleading, and you step into the knowing that comes from decreeing. To release the fear is to stop speaking the fear. To step into the knowing that it is already done is to speak only those things that align with the finished work. This is not blind faith, this is divine truth. This is the mechanics of creation. This is the way things have always worked from the beginning of time. The universe was spoken into existence. And since you are made in the image of the Creator, you too speak your world into existence. The moment you surrender, the moment you give it to God and stop worrying, you must seal that surrender with your confession. You cannot surrender in your heart and then complain with your mouth. You cannot give it to God in prayer and then take it back in conversation with your friend. Your words must match your surrender. If you say you trust God, but then you go around talking about how bad the situation is, you are a double-minded person and you will receive nothing. You must become disciplined in your speech. You must become the guardian of your tongue. You must refuse to speak anything that contradicts the promise of God for your life. The moment you step into the realm of miracles is the moment you align your voice with the voice of God. Nothing is too hard for Him, and no situation is beyond His reach, and no obstacle is too great for His power. But He works through you. He works through your faith, and your faith is released through your words. What you see as a dead end, he sees as an opportunity for his glory. But he needs you to agree with him. He needs you to speak to the dead end and command it to open. What you perceive as impossible, he knows, is already resolved, but he needs you to declare that resolution. The only question is, will you trust him enough to speak what he says instead of what your eyes see? Will you release the old story of victimhood and start telling the new story of victory? Will you stop trying to figure it all out with your logic and simply allow his power to move through your life by the confession of your mouth? You have waited long enough living in the silence of doubt or the noise of complaint. You have carried this weight for too many nights, questioning God in the dark. You have allowed fear to take up space in your mind for too long, letting it whisper lies about your future. It is time to let go of that inner dialogue of defeat. It is time to give it to God and never take it back. It is time to walk as though the answer is already here, and the most powerful way to walk is to speak. To speak as though the breakthrough has already occurred. To move as though the impossible has already been overturned. When you speak of your problem as a thing of the past, even while it is standing in front of you, you diminish its power. You drain the energy from the obstacle and you feed energy to the solution. You were never meant to struggle in silence or to complain in frustration. You were never meant to live in fear of what tomorrow might bring. You were never meant to be burdened by what was always meant for God to handle. Step into the knowing that your words are the bridge between the unseen and the seen. Step into the certainty that what you decree shall be established. Step into the divine reality that all things are already working for your good, and let your conversation reflect that reality. And when you do, you will see that what once seemed impossible was simply waiting for you to believe enough to say it. You must understand that the moment you give it to God, you step into a realm where all things are possible, but you must maintain that position with your words. You no longer live by what you see, by what you hear, or by what the world tells you is real. You live by a deeper truth, a higher law, a divine principle that transcends human understanding. The world says, look at the facts. Faith says, look at the truth. The facts may say you are broke, but the truth says you are supplied. The facts may say you are sick, but the truth says you are healed. The facts are temporary and subject to change, but the truth is eternal. Your words have the power to change the facts to match the truth. Worry is the mind's desperate attempt to hold on to control by talking about the problem. But faith is the spirit's surrender to something far greater by talking about the promise. And in that surrender, mountains move, doors open, and what once seemed impossible becomes your new reality. Every great miracle begins with surrender, but it is sustained by declaration. Every answered prayer is birthed from trust, and trust speaks the language of the outcome. Not partial trust, not conditional trust, but absolute, unwavering, unshakable trust. The kind of trust that does not ask when or how, but simply declares it is done. The kind of trust that does not look to circumstances for confirmation, but knows within the depths of its being that God is already working. When you trust, you do not need to constantly check for results. You do not need to dig up the seed to see if it is growing. You speak to the seed and call it a harvest. When you trust, you stop striving, and you stop manipulating, and you stop forcing. When you trust, you enter into a divine flow where everything unfolds effortlessly. You were never meant to carry the burdens you hold, and you were certainly not meant to speak about them constantly. The weight of worry, the fear of the unknown, the endless struggle of trying to figure everything out is amplified by your words. Every time you say, I don't know what to do, you are commanding confusion. Every time you say, I can't handle this, you are commanding weakness. These are not yours to bear. You were created to live in peace, to walk in divine assurance, to rest in the knowledge that God has already gone before you. The battle is not yours, it is His. But you must invite Him into the battle with your words of faith. The solution is not something you must create, it is something you must receive. Your only task is to step out of the way, to release your grip, to allow God to do what only He can do. How many nights have you spent worrying about things that were already resolved in the mind of God? How many days have you allowed fear to steal your joy, only to realize later that God had it handled all along? If you had only spoken peace to the storm instead of agreeing with the storm, you would have saved yourself so much suffering. Look back on your life. Every time you thought there was no way, He made one. Every time you felt abandoned, He was there. Every time you thought the situation was impossible, He turned it around. If he did it before, why do you doubt he will do it again? If he has always been faithful, why do you question him now with your words? Faith does not operate in hesitation. Faith does not negotiate with fear. Faith does not wait for evidence before believing. Faith speaks, and it is so. Faith declares, and it manifests. Faith calls those things which be not as though they were. This is the key. You must call the unseen into the seen. You cannot wait for it to appear to call it. You call it so that it will appear. Faith knows that even when nothing appears to be happening, everything is happening beneath the surface. Just as a seed is buried in the ground before it breaks through the soil, so too are your prayers taking root before they manifest in your life. Just because you cannot see it does not mean it is not real. Just because it has not yet appeared does not mean it is not on its way. You must stop living as though your worries have more power than your faith. You must stop speaking as though your problems are bigger than your God. You must stop giving life to fear when you have the ability to command peace. There is power in your words, dynamic, explosive power. There is power in your belief to reshape the atoms of your life. When you speak life, life comes forth. When you speak victory, victory follows. When you speak faith, miracles unfold. You cannot afford to allow doubt to take root in your mind. You cannot afford to let fear have a voice in your life. The moment you silence fear and amplify faith, you activate the supernatural. God is not distant. He is not indifferent to your struggles. He is not unaware of what you need. He has been waiting for you to step into alignment with Him through your confession. He has been waiting for you to release your attachment to outcomes and start speaking from the identity of the one who has already received, to let go of your need to control, to trust in the unseen rather than the seen. The moment you shift from worry to worship, from fear to faith, from stress to surrender, everything changes. Heaven responds to the sound of faith. The impossible bows before you because you have aligned yourself with the supreme authority of the universe. What once seemed out of reach suddenly finds its way to you effortlessly. You have tried it your way. You have analyzed and planned and strategized and exhausted yourself trying to make things work. But now it is time to step into a higher way, a way that does not demand struggle, a way that does not require anxiety, a way that simply asks you to believe and to speak what you believe. When you believe, you stop trying to force doors open, and instead watch as they open before you. When you believe, you stop begging for what is already yours and begin to walk as if it is done. When you believe, you live with the peace that surpasses all understanding, knowing that nothing can stand in the way of what God has for you. You were not created to live in worry. You were not designed to be consumed by stress. You were meant to live in divine ease, to walk in unwavering confidence, to rest in the knowledge that everything is already handled. But you must release your grip. You must stop trying to control what was never meant to be controlled. You must step out of the way and allow God to be God. Because the moment you do, the moment you truly give it all to Him, the impossible will bow before you and you will see that it was never impossible at all. It was only impossible to your limited human mind, but it was always possible to your spirit. You must realize that holding on too tightly is what keeps you from receiving. The more you struggle, the more resistance you create. The more you talk about the problem, the more you anchor it in your reality. The more you try to figure it all out, the more you entangle yourself in confusion. But when you step back, when you release the burden, when you give it to God completely without picking it back up, the answers come. The doors swing open, the weight lifts. There is a divine order, a sacred timing, a perfect unfolding happening in your life. And the only thing required of you is trust expressed through your words. Trust that what is meant for you cannot miss you. Trust that what is seeking you is already on its way. Trust that the invisible hand of God is working on your behalf in ways beyond your comprehension. You do not need to chase after what is already yours. You do not need to beg for what heaven has already assigned to you. You do not need to exhaust yourself in the pursuit of what is freely given. What you seek is seeking you. The moment you align with this truth, the moment you stop resisting and start allowing, you will see miracles unfold. Not because you forced them, but because you trusted them into being. Not because you worried them into existence, but because you stood in faith, unwavering and unshaken, knowing that what God has promised is already done. Fear will tell you that surrender means weakness, but in truth, surrender is the greatest strength. It is the mind that doubts, but the spirit knows. It is the mind that fears, but the soul is at peace. The moment you shift from the limited perspective of your human understanding to the boundless vision of divine truth, you step into the miraculous. You begin to see beyond the illusion of lack. You begin to understand that what appears to be a delay is only divine preparation. You begin to recognize that nothing is ever truly lost, for in God all things are being rearranged for your highest good. Stop measuring the progress of your life by what you see with your physical eyes. Stop allowing the external world to dictate your faith. The unseen is more real than the seen. The invisible is more powerful than the visible. Every breakthrough begins in the realm of faith before it manifests in the natural. Just because you do not see movement does not mean nothing is happening. Just because you do not hear an answer does not mean heaven is silent. Everything is being orchestrated in perfect harmony. And your only task is to remain in alignment, to hold on to the truth when fear whispers lies, to stand firm in faith when doubt tries to shake you, to declare victory even before the evidence appears. You have spent too much time believing in limitations, too much time worrying about the how, too much time trying to manipulate the outcome instead of resting in the promise. But when did worry ever change anything? When did fear ever open a door? When did doubt ever bring a breakthrough? The moment you step beyond these lower states of being, the moment you rise above the illusion of struggle, you will see that you were never waiting on God. God was always waiting on you, waiting for you to trust, waiting for you to surrender, waiting for you to let go so He could take over. Nothing is too hard for God. Nothing is beyond His reach. Nothing is impossible when you step into divine partnership. The world will tell you that some things cannot be changed, but the truth is everything is changeable through the power of the spoken word. The world will tell you that your circumstances are final, but the truth is circumstances are merely reflections of past thoughts and beliefs. The moment you shift your inner state and your outer speech, your external world must shift to match it. This is the law. This is the truth. This is the power you have been given. You were not meant to live in a constant state of struggle. You were not designed to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You were created to walk in divine ease, to move through life with the confidence that everything is always working for your good. But as long as you hold on to fear, as long as you try to control what is not yours to control, you block the very blessings that are meant for you. The moment you let go, the moment you give it all to God, you make space for the miraculous. You allow the impossible to become possible. You open yourself to a life of peace, joy, and effortless manifestation. Look back on your journey. Every time you thought you had reached the end, a way was made. Every time you thought it was over, a new beginning appeared. Every time you felt forgotten, you were being prepared. The same God who brought you through before will do it again. The same power that carried you then is carrying you now. But you must release your grip. You must step out of your own way. You must trust not just with your words, but with your whole being. Worry is a habit, but so is faith. Fear is a pattern, but so is trust. The choice is yours. You can choose to live in fear, constantly chasing, constantly striving, constantly doubting. Or you can choose to live in faith, resting in the assurance that everything is already done. When you choose faith, you activate a power greater than anything you could ever imagine. When you choose trust, you align yourself with the miraculous. When you choose surrender, you position yourself for the impossible to become your reality. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to figure it all out. You simply need to decide right now that you will no longer carry what is not yours to carry, that you will no longer allow fear to dictate your life, that you will no longer question whether God is working, because He is. And when you fully release, when you finally give it all to Him, you will see what you've been waiting for all along. Not because you forced it, not because you worried about it, but because you believed, because you trusted, because you knew that the moment you gave it to God, the impossible became inevitable. You must come to the place where your faith is so unwavering that no storm can shake you, no delay can discourage you, and no obstacle can make you doubt. This is the level where miracles happen, not in desperation, not in striving, but in stillness, in absolute confidence, in the knowing that what is yours is already yours, that what you have asked for has already been given, and that all you need to do is stand in agreement with heaven's timing. The moment you fully let go of worry, you step into alignment with divine abundance. You step into the reality where nothing is missing, nothing is lacking, and everything you desire is unfolding exactly as it should. Many will say they trust God, yet their actions reveal otherwise. They say they believe, yet they still hold on tightly, trying to control what is beyond their grasp. They still allow doubt to creep in, still allow fear to whisper lies into their hearts. But true faith requires release. It requires you to open your hands, to unclench your grip, to surrender fully and completely. Not halfway, not with conditions, but with the kind of faith that says, even if I do not see the way, I know the way is already made. The kind of faith that refuses to be shaken, even when everything in the natural seems impossible. The kind of faith that calls things that are not as though they are, that speaks life into the unseen, that declares victory before the evidence appears. Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap, yet they lack nothing. Look at the lilies of the field. They do not labor or spin, yet they are clothed in beauty beyond compare. How much more will your Father in heaven provide for you? How much more will He take care of your needs? Yet you worry, yet you fear, yet you act as though you are alone, as though you have no source, as though the weight of the world rests upon your shoulders. For you were never meant to carry it. You were never meant to strive, to struggle, to live in fear of tomorrow. The moment you hand it over, the moment you truly release every burden, you step into the life you were meant to live, a life of freedom, a life of divine flow, a life where the impossible is not just possible, it is inevitable. Think about the times in your life when you tried to force something to happen. Think about the times you pushed, you pulled, you struggled, yet nothing worked. The doors remained closed. The breakthrough seemed distant. The harder you tried, the more resistance you faced. But what happened when you finally let go? What happened when you stopped forcing and started trusting? Things shifted. Doors opened. The very thing you were striving for came effortlessly. This is the divine order. This is how faith works. The moment you stop resisting and start allowing you enter the flow of God's perfect plan, the moment you let go of the need to control, you make space for the miraculous. Nothing is impossible for the one who believes. This is not just a statement, it is a law. It is an unbreakable truth. If you believe that something is out of reach, it will remain out of reach. If you believe that something is difficult, it will be difficult. But if you believe that all things are working together for your good, if you believe that divine favor surrounds you, if you believe that every closed door is leading you to a better one, then that is exactly what you will experience. It is not about wishful thinking. It is not about empty hope. It is about knowing. Knowing that what is unseen is more real than what is seen. Knowing that what you have prayed for is already in motion. Knowing that even when nothing appears to be happening, everything is happening. How long will you allow fear to rob you of your blessings? How long will you continue to carry burdens that were never yours to carry? How long will you let doubt steal your peace? You must decide. You must choose. You must make up your mind that from this moment forward you will walk in unwavering faith, that you will release every worry, every fear, every doubt, and place it all in the hands of the one who holds all things together. And the moment you do, you will feel the shift. The moment you truly surrender, you will witness doors open effortlessly. The moment you give it to God, you will see the impossible become reality. Let this be the moment you stop striving. Let this be the moment you release every burden. Let this be the moment you choose faith over fear, trust over doubt, peace over worry. Because the truth is, it was never about you figuring it all out. It was never about you making it happen. It was always about your willingness to trust, your willingness to believe, your willingness to let go and allow God to move in ways you never imagined. And when you finally do, when you step into that level of trust, you will not have to chase what is already yours. It will come to you. It will find you, and it will be greater than you ever dreamed. We have traveled a long and transformative road together in this masterclass, moving from the illusion of struggle through the wisdom of nature and into the power of the spoken word. But now we arrive at the summit of the mountain. We arrive at the state of consciousness that is the secret to all creation and the guarantee of all manifestation. we arrive at the Sabbath of the mind. This is not a day of the week on a calendar, and it has nothing to do with religious rituals or external observances. The Sabbath is a mystical state of absolute mental rest. It is the deep inner knowing that the work is finished. It is the moment when the architect rolls up the blueprints because the building is built in his mind. It is the moment when the farmer puts away the plow because the seed is in the ground. It is the moment when you stop trying to make it happen and you start knowing that it has happened. This is the state of absolute rest, where you are no longer the petitioner begging for a favor, but the possessor enjoying the reality of the wish fulfilled. If you do not enter this rest, you will delay your blessing because your restlessness is the proof that you do not yet believe. You must understand that when the scriptures say God rested on the seventh day, it was not because God was tired, for infinite power cannot know fatigue. God rested because the work was done. He looked at what he had created and saw that it was good, and he ceased from his labor. You are the operant power in your own life, and you must follow this divine pattern. You have defined your desire, and you have planted the seed in the soil of your subconscious, and you have watered it with faith. Now you must enter the Sabbath. You must stop digging. You must stop questioning. You must stop checking for signs. You must enter into a mental holiday where you walk through your days with the quiet confidence that your desire is a finished fact. This is the hardest part for the human ego, because the ego believes that activity equals progress. The ego believes that if you are not worrying, you are not caring. But the spirit knows that stillness is the womb of manifestation. The Sabbath is the antidote to anxiety. Anxiety is simply the imagination used destructively. It is the mind churning out scenarios of failure and lack. But when you enter the Sabbath, you silence the noise of the fear. You step into a sanctuary of peace where the outside world cannot touch you. In this state, you are not waiting for the money to come. You are resting in the feeling that you are already abundant. You are not waiting for the health to appear. You are resting in the feeling that you are already whole. You are not waiting for the love to find you. You are resting in the feeling that you are already loved. This shift from waiting to resting is the key that unlocks the door. Waiting implies separation. Resting implies union. When you rest in the state of the wish fulfilled, you are united with your desire, and what you are united with must manifest in your world. Think of a woman who is pregnant. She has conceived a child. The child is real, even though it is not yet visible to the eye. Does she wake up every morning and try to create the child again? Does she worry if the child is still there? No. She goes about her life with a quiet knowing. She rests in the certainty of the pregnancy. She eats well, and she prepares the room, and she waits with joy. She is in a biological Sabbath. She allows the intelligence of life to build the body of the child within her. Your desire is your spiritual child. You have conceived it in your imagination. Now you must carry it with the same confidence. You do not need to force it into birth. You do not need to stress about the development. You simply need to carry it until the appointed time. If you try to force the birth, you will create a tragedy. If you rest in the process, you will create a miracle. The feeling of the Sabbath is relief. It is the most beautiful feeling in the world. It is the feeling of dropping a heavy backpack after a long hike. It is the feeling of finishing a final exam and walking out of the school. It is the feeling of paying off the last debt. It is the deep exhale of the soul that says it is finished. When you successfully enter the Sabbath, you will feel this relief wash over you. The tension will leave your body. The racing thoughts will slow down. You will no longer feel the need to talk about your problem to everyone you meet, because the problem no longer exists in your consciousness. You have solved it spiritually, and therefore it must be solved physically. If you are still worried, it means you have not yet accepted the solution. You are still standing outside the Sabbath looking in. You must open the door and walk in and sit down. Many of you are afraid to rest. You are afraid that if you stop worrying, the universe will forget about you. You are afraid that if you take your hands off the wheel, the car will crash. But I tell you that the universe is waiting for you to take your hands off. Your hands are shaking with fear, and you are steering the car into the ditch. Let the divine driver take over. God cannot drive while you are fighting him for the steering wheel. The Sabbath is the act of letting go of the wheel. It is the ultimate act of trust. It is saying, God, I trust you so much that I am going to go to sleep tonight without a single worry in my mind. I trust you so much that I am going to enjoy my day even though the bank account is empty. I trust you so much that I am going to smile at the future even though the present looks dark. This kind of trust is irresistible to the forces of creation. It magnetizes your good to you with a speed that will astound you. When you are in the Sabbath, you are immune to bad news. The world may bring you reports of disaster, but you remain unmoved. You know that these reports are just the echoes of the past. You know that you have planted a new seed and a new harvest is coming. You do not react to the weeds, you simply keep your eyes on the vision of the harvest. You understand that the bridge of incidents may be rocky, but it is leading you to the promised land. You do not complain about the rocks, you just keep walking. This emotional stability is the hallmark of the master. The master does not fluctuate with the stock market or the weather or the opinions of others. The master lives from the inside out. The master lives in the eternal Sabbath of the soul, where all is well and all is done. Entering the Sabbath does not mean you stop taking physical action. This is a crucial distinction. You can still go to work and wash the dishes and pay the bills, but you do it without the internal struggle. You do it without the frantic energy of desperation. You act from a place of inspiration rather than a place of fear. You move with the flow of the river rather than trying to push the river. When you are in the Sabbath, your actions become efficient and effective. You do less, but you accomplish more. You speak less, but your words have more power. You strive less, but you attract more. This is the paradox of Wu Wei, or effortless action. It is the state of being in the world, but not of it. You are physically active, but mentally at rest. You must realize that your struggle has never helped you. Your worry has never solved a single problem. Your sleepless nights have never paid a single bill. In fact, they have only added to the resistance. They have only pushed your good further away. So why not try the Sabbath? Why not try trusting? Why not try resting? You have nothing to lose but your misery. You have nothing to lose but your stress. Give yourself permission to be happy now. Do not wait for the manifestation to be happy. Be happy because you know it is coming. Be happy because you have the promise. The joy of the Sabbath is the fuel that accelerates the manifestation. Joy is a high vibration that burns through obstacles. Depression and worry are low vibrations that build walls. Choose joy, choose rest, choose the Sabbath. Imagine a painter standing before a canvas. He paints for days with intensity and focus. He mixes the colors and he applies the brush strokes. But there comes a moment when the painting is complete. If he continues to paint, he will ruin it. He must step back. He must put down the brush. He must admire the work. That moment of stepping back is the Sabbath. You have painted your desire on the canvas of the universe. You have visualized it and you have felt it. Now step back. Do not keep adding brush strokes of doubt. Do not keep trying to fix what is not broken. The picture is complete in the mind of God. Let it dry. Let it set. Let it become a masterpiece. Your interference at this stage is not help, it is sabotage. Trust the work you have done. Trust the power of your own imagination. The Sabbath is also a time of silence. You stop discussing your desires with people who do not understand. You stop seeking validation from the outside world. You keep your secret sacred. You nurture it in the dark of your inner being. The seed grows best in the dark silence of the soil. If you expose it to the harsh light of public opinion too soon, it will wither. Keep your counsel. Walk in the mystery. There is power in being mysterious. There is power in having a secret smile on your face that says, I know something you don't know. I know that my Redeemer lives and I know that my blessing is on the way. This inner confidence is a shield against the negativity of the world. As you practice the Sabbath, you will find that your health improves. Your body cannot heal when it is in a state of fight or flight. It needs the rest and digest state to repair itself. The Sabbath is the ultimate healing state. When you drop the mental burden, your body drops the physical tension. Your cortisol levels go down and your immune system goes up. You sleep better and you digest better and you think clearer. The Sabbath is not just a spiritual principle. It is a biological necessity. You were designed to function from a place of rest. When you violate this design, you break down. Return to the design. Return to the rest. There will be times when you fall out of the Sabbath. You will see a bill or hear a comment and the old fear will rise up. Do not judge yourself. Do not condemn yourself. Simply notice it and gently guide yourself back to the rest. Say to yourself, peace, be still. Remind yourself that the work is done. Remind yourself of the bird and the flower. Remind yourself that you have given it to God. Re-enter the temple of silence. It is always there waiting for you. It is a sanctuary that you carry within you. You can enter it in the middle of a crowded subway or in the middle of a difficult meeting. You just take a deep breath and step back into the knowing, I am that I am, and it is done. The Sabbath is the bridge between the unseen and the seen. It is the time when the energy transmutes into matter. It is the alchemy of creation. You cannot see the transformation happening, but you trust that it is. Just like water turning into ice, you cannot see the molecules slowing down, but you know that at the freezing point the shift will happen. Your Sabbath is the cooling process that hardens your liquid desire into solid fact. Stay in the cool. Stay in the calm. Do not heat up the water with your anxiety. Let it freeze into the reality you desire. You are moving from a life of effort to a life of grace. Grace is the unearned favor of God, but it can only be received by the open hand of rest. A clenched fist cannot receive grace. Open your hands. Open your heart. Let go of the need to control. Control is an illusion anyway. You never had control. You only had the illusion of it. Surrender the illusion and gain the reality of divine power. When you are weak, then you are strong. When you stop trying, God starts doing. This is the great exchange. You give God your trust, and He gives you His power. This final stage of the Sabbath is where the Master lives. The Master is never in a hurry because he knows time is an illusion. The Master is never worried because he knows the end from the beginning. The Master is never desperate because he knows he is the source. You are becoming the Master. You are graduating from the school of struggle to the school of rest. It is a higher level of education. It requires more discipline to rest than it does to struggle. It takes more strength to be still than it does to run around. Be strong enough to be still. Be brave enough to rest. As you walk in this Sabbath, you will become a magnet for others. They will see your peace and they will want it. They will ask you what your secret is. You will tell them that you have learned to let go. You have learned to let God do the impossible. You will become a living testimony of the power of rest. Your life will preach a sermon without words. A sermon that says God is faithful and His promises are true. Your prosperity and your health and your joy will be the evidence of the law. You will not have to argue for the truth, you will demonstrate it. So tonight, as you lay your head on the pillow, enter the Sabbath. Do not take your worries to bed with you. Leave them at the door. Enter the sleep of the just. Sleep with the smile of the wish fulfilled. Sleep with the feeling of the ring on your finger or the keys in your hand. Let your sleep be a declaration of trust. And when you wake up, do not pick up the burden again. Leave it there. Walk through your day light and free. Look at the world with the eyes of someone who has already won, because you have. The victory was won in the spiritual realm the moment you surrendered. The physical victory is just the echo. It is finished. These are the last words of the Master, and they should be the first words of your day. It is finished. My healing is finished. My abundance is finished. My freedom is finished. I am just walking through the time it takes for the scenery to change. But I am not moved by the scenery. I am moved by the truth. I am moved by the promise. I am moved by the Spirit. Let this deep rest penetrate every cell of your body. Let it rewire your nervous system. You are safe. You are held. You are provided for. The universe is not a hostile place. It is a friendly place. It is conspiring to bless you. It is plotting your success. But you must get out of the way. You must stop the noise. You must enter the silence. In the silence is the power. In the rest is the manifestation. In the Sabbath is the miracle. Do not look back at the old you who used to worry. That person is dead. You are a new creation. You are the one who trusts. You are the one who rests. You are the one who knows. Walk in this new identity. Wear it like a royal robe. It fits you perfectly. You were born for this. You were born to rule over your reality, not to be a slave to it, and you rule by resting. You reign by resigning your will to the divine will. There is nothing left to do. The seed is planted, the rain is falling, the sun is shining, the harvest is growing. Your work is to enjoy the garden. Your work is to give thanks. Your work is to be. Be still and know. Be still and trust. Be still and watch the salvation of the Lord. The impossible is happening right now. It is bubbling up from the unseen into the seen. It is breaking through the soil. It is knocking on your door. Open the door with a smile and say, I knew you were coming. I have been waiting for you in the Sabbath. Welcome home to the state of rest. Welcome home to your power. Welcome home to the life you were meant to live. A life of ease, a life of flow, a life of absolute certainty. It is done. It is done. It is done. You have entered the Sabbath. The work is done. The seed is planted. Do not dig it up. As you go forth from this moment, I ask you to seal this truth in your heart. If you are ready to walk in this new identity of absolute rest, leave a comment below with 3 simple but powerful words. I let go. Let this be your public declaration to the universe that the struggle is over. And if this message has brought peace to your soul, share it with someone who is carrying a heavy burden. Be the vessel of their relief. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a reminder of your true power. Go in peace. It is finished.